in conjunction with guns and the global conspiracy. Believe it or not, they have a lot in common. First of all, well, I'll start with one of our old flyers, 1986, drugs and their effects. Then it has on the individual, on the family, on the community, drugs as a means of exploitation and control of the black community. Who is the real victim? What we can and should do to save ourselves and our community from its deadly and destructive element. The dates up here are all 1986, April 27, 1986. And this was a series of events, weekly events. And the last one was May 25th. In fact, that was Malcolm's birthday. May 25th, 1986. So it shows you that we have some knowledge of this. The other thing I want to mention is that we, in the early years, were very closely associated with drugs. In fact, part of our East Oakland enterprises, part of our economic enterprise zone, bounced off of marijuana, of course, and cocaine, and a little bit of crank here and there. But we control those markets. The government tried to hint that we sold heroin and what have you. We didn't sell any heroin. Heroin was known as strictly a killer. That it was designed or brought into the black community in a big way to destroy it. Now, drugs and their effects. First of all, drugs was used to destroy the black movement right away. I just want to say that, and I'm going to try to speed up. But drugs was used as a mechanism to control and to destroy the movement. The other thing about it's not only a movement killer, it's a community killer. I'll explain it this way. Drugs is a closed-in system. I'll repeat that. Drugs is a closed-in system. When drugs come into the community, it has certain effects. Number one, those who sell the drugs concentrate their wealth into their hands. The money does not circulate around in the community. It goes, drugs, alcohol, and all that, that's where the money in the black community goes as of the late 1960s. It's a control mechanism. So drugs are a means of control of the black community, not only destroying the movement, but also control the movement. Number one, the drug dealers concentrate their wealth. In those days, there was a few dealers, so they concentrated the wealth in their hands. They took that money and they bought diamonds from South Africa, right? They, not knowingly, they bought some gold every now and then, but all their gold chains, all that came from gold from overseas. So they were supporting technically South Africa. So the wealth came in. Now, the German auto dealers and the big GM Cadillac dealers, they got the other money. They got the other money. Now, there's another tripartite crew. The judges, okay, no, let's say the police, the bail bondsmen, and the lawyers. You know, when I was in Oakland, I didn't have any driver's license because the police just happened to take my driver's license. But I had big-time lawyers. I could have paid a few $100s for insurance and got my driver's license. Simple as that. But you know, they never mention that. I'll tell you why they never mention that. It's because my arrest or my stopping by the police without having driver's license made it legal. The government had probable cause to stop me and to write me tickets, take me to jail, do all that stuff. They had probable cause. Why? Because I didn't have a license. Okay. What does that have to do with the bail bondsman, the lawyer, and the police? The police arrest me. I go to call the bail bondsman and the lawyer. They all work in harmony. They get together. Why would they want to keep me out of jail? They want to keep me out of jail as long as I got money. And the bail bondsman, the minute you run out of money, that's it. The lawyer, as soon as you run out of money, that's it. They say, well, we did all we can do. You might as well take a deal. What I'm trying to say is, for black people, it would be a closed-in system. It's like that not only for black people, it's like that for Pablo Escobar, the Zetas, and all those people too. All of them are controlled. They don't think so, but the drug dealers in America, all controlled by the United States government. All of their supplies, everything come from the United States government. All their groups, the big ones, are infiltrated by the government. Why do I say that? I say that because whether you're gangs or gangs members, that's something that we call the dictatorship of the district attorney. What does that mean? The district attorney is all powerful in the black community. They already got a rigged system. They charge you with a crime. Then he can tell you or me, I'll let you go for your crime if you tell on Johnny Boy. Right? So they have a ready recruit of snitches and tattletales. This is how the system runs. And it's a closed-in system also because before drugs entered the community in a big way, it's always been light drugs, but before 1968, it was light drugs, or before 65, it was light drugs. Reefer, what they call it, marijuana, stuff like that. There was a few heroin addicts, but they wasn't thousands of them. It was only a few here and there. So the government uses drugs to control the black population. It also gives it, in the black community, the drug laws are different. Like for the last 40 years, when I was making this right here, these flyers, in '86, the police could deal differently in the black neighborhood. It was called a high crime neighborhood. Can you imagine? In a high crime neighborhood, the threshold for aggression is less than in a lily white neighborhood. They may use more dope in the white neighborhood than they do in the Negro neighborhood. You would never know it. You would never know it. Why? Because ain't nobody up there bothering them. So it's a closed-in system. That means the bail bondsman, that means the lawyer, that means the police are all in cahoots. They all, why would your lawyer want you not to get no case? It's just like an undertaker not wanting nobody to die. I mean, he don't sit there, I hope somebody die, but business is business. So he at least hope, well, if anybody dies, we hope they come to our place, our funeral home. know he's sitting there and ain't nobody died in 3 weeks. Good God Almighty, we're going to be going. So that's the same way a lawyer is. He went to school for it. The bail bondsmen have insurance. Here's one of these if you like. I had told you that about those Luke Bond things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's okay. One. You can have that. Okay. So I'll speed up. The title of the talk today is Guns and the Global Conspiracy. But before I get to guns, I have to walk it through drugs. Drugs has a serious effect on the individual. The family is automatically immobilized, confused, and eventually they just go broke or they leave, they just can't stand it anymore. The community is the same way. The black community, back in the day, all the doors were wide open. People wouldn't believe that. Right here in the Southeast Washington, nobody locked their door. Why would they do that? It's just black people out there. But when black people start robbing and stealing each other, the effect of drugs. In the black community, one person a year or every 2-3 might get killed in a dice game, or he caught somebody with his woman, something. Maybe 2 or 3 people got killed. That'd be a boost a year. But not black on black crime like it is. Black on black crime is a new invention from the late 60s, early 70s. Black on black crime. The system engineered black on black crime. Why? Because it wasn't there before. The point I'm making is drugs is a tool for control, the black community and now the white community. Okay, and we're not new at this. This is 86 right here. That's 33 years ago. That's 33 years ago. So I will have to admit that I wasn't a day-to-day drug dealer. I was just about as high as you can get. And I went from international, Mexico, and then before you know it, I'm in South America, smuggling cocaine up here. So I got a chance to see the drug as they really are, but there's something that made my journey different. I looked at it in depth. And that's one of the reasons I stopped dealing. Is because I realized that Boss Man had been a part of everything in California. Then when it shifted to Mexico and South America, I realized that Boss Man was playing an integral part in the whole thing. I told one of my friends, I remember it was 73, I said, I'm tired of dealing the white man's dope. My friend didn't care at all. He was like the dark-skinned fella in Superfly. Man, this is heaven. And I'm talking about a moral issue, ethics. I said, man, I'm tired of dealing the white man's dope. He was thinking, well, you smuggling it, you doing this, that, and another. But we were not controlling it. When they get tired of you, that's why they can exchange no matter how big you get. When they get tired of Pablo Escobar, he's gone. When they get tired of the Zetas and other ones, they're gone. They get rid of it. On the way, they develop competition amongst the Mexican cartels used to work, believe it or not, they used to work together closely. Not in the last 20 years. They've been killing each other. With what guns? FBI and what's the gun authority here? ATF. One of the guns, they said, this gun killed us such and such an agent, and it was registered, their numbers. The people was wondering, how could that happen? Not because they send their guns here, down there. They need guns to keep them fighting. Just like the military-industrial complex, it has to have wars. It has to have puppet leaders. It has to have them. So drugs is the dirtiest game out of all of it. If y'all remember, a couple of weeks ago I talked about down in Colombia, in the last few years, the last 20 years, they had 7 U.S. military bases down there. If anybody had a chance to check, they would realize that the United States government was there to protect their drug shipments and to squash the guerrilleros, the guerrillas. Why? They was getting too big. They was selling drugs too. They could buy brand new weapons. They start capturing all kind of territory. So the U.S. came down there and put them in their place. Before you know it, last year before last, they made the peace treaty. The FARC, M19, they made a peace treaty with the Colombian government. Why? Because the people knew we can't beat the Americans. Okay, so the war on drugs. This is in actuality a war on black people characterized by the following aims: destroying the family and community in which it has been 100% effective, taking away constitutional rights and guarantees. Have you noticed the slow, it ain't even slow now, the erosion of constitutional rights? They jump a little bill in here, oh, it don't, before you, now, we look at it and we say, man, they did not, we say we don't have any more constitutional rights. But other people, oh, they're not too heavy into it, so they just, we still have a right to do it. That's because they're not active. Turning urban centers into police states. That's what every urban center is, a police state. It's just like Palestine and the Zionist state. It's the same thing. The police can shoot you down, right? Uneducated, flat-headed police with no other criteria except he has a badge and he has a gun. And he can shoot you down anytime he wants. And out of, it's probably 1 out of 1,000 chances he'd go to court. 1 out of 1,000. And if he did, he'd get some kind of little, I don't know, not too much. Because they got to keep them. The police state is part and parcel of the black community. Criminalizing the whole black and Latino community. You notice when white people start using all the dope, they're not mean, low down, dirty drug users anymore. You have a sickness, an illness, you want treatment, just call, da-da-da-da-da. They even got Narcan to bring you back. Why they didn't have it for us?
And laws in Congress.
Oh, it's our poor children, opiates, and they're just sweeping the world. And they got all kind of non-take-you-to-jail programs and all that. With us, they was locking Negroes up. They just backed up a few of them. They was locking us up 10, 15, 20, 30, and 40 years. They backed up black people in the penitentiary. They backed the penitentiaries choking with Negroes. Okay. War against Islam, Muslim threat, is actually meant to achieve the following goals: stopping the global Islamic revival, which has been steadily gaining momentum across the world from here to Palestine, branding all good works of Muslims as terrorism, and C, changing the public image of Muslims from advocates of education, development, and social justice to terrorism. We can say with experience and confidence that the biggest dope dealers and terrorists in the world is the United States government. That's just our statement on that, and that's old. That's been restated so many times. So now, let's try to ease off into, we see that drugs and guns are very important in this, and general oppression. This is a book, this is 10 years old, but that's the budgetary impact of ending drug prohibition. This is an article from MIT or something, and they do a study. This is budgetary impact of ending drug prohibition, what the white folks say. Why is it the longest war? This is a 50-year-old war. They got a lot of casualties and the war is still going on. Why?
They don't want it to end.
Huh?
They don't want it to stop.
They don't want it to stop. They fuel in it. It's like fentanyl all over the world. There's no money in peace and tranquility. There's not a dime in it. If you knew how much money. Drugs is just unbelievable, unbelievable. I know how much I made, but that was a long time ago. They had, I remember when Blandon was, what's the name's connection? Blandon from Nicaragua was Freeway Rick's connection. Freeway Rick was making, I don't know how many million per day. He didn't keep none of it, but that's what they did. Don't nobody keep none of it. Can you imagine? You turn all that money, it goes to the Contras, right? It goes to the Treasury. It goes everywhere. But one thing about it, you don't get to keep none. Pablo Escobar don't get to keep none. If they estimate that he had 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 billion dollars, whatever happened to it, the government will print another 20 billion dollars in the Treasury because it said this money's gone out of circulation. Can you imagine the money that's in circulation down in South America, in Mexico? It never come back here. The government just prints. The world is awash in U.S. dollars. When they go off the dollar system and go on the yuan or the Chinese something money, America gonna be in trouble. They're already in trouble. Okay, let me read this summary. Executive summary. State and federal governments in the United States face massive, looming physical deficits. One policy change can reduce deficits is ending the drug war. Legalization means reduced expenditure on enforcement and increase in tax revenues from legalized sales. This report estimates that drugs would save roughly, now this is 10 years ago, this is the estimation, $41.3 billion per year in government expenditures on enforcement and prohibition. Of the the savings, 25.7 billion would accrue to state and local governments, while 15.6 billion would accrue to federal government. Approximately 8.7 billion of the savings would result from legalization of marijuana. You see how fast that's happening. And 32.6 billion from legalization of other drugs. That means legalize all of them. The report also estimates that drug legalization would yield tax revenue of 46.7 billion annually, assuming legal drugs were taxed at rates comparable to those of alcohol and tobacco. Not higher, just tax them like alcohol and tobacco. That'll give you 46 billion, plus you don't have to spend no money. Approximately 8.7 billion of the revenue would result from legalization of marijuana, 38.0 billion from legalization of other drugs. Drugs is haram. We're not advocating drugs for Muslims. But to stop the manufactured control of the black community, legalize drugs. You won't have no excuse to have it. The gangs won't be killing each other, right? It's like prohibition. When white folks realized that prohibition wasn't working, what did they do? They said finished. Didn't take them no time. 1920, 1932, they said before prohibition, we didn't have no mafiosos and all those gangsters. Before, look what it was. It was gambling and prostitution. Those were vices. And they were a medium-sized operation, small and medium. But it wasn't like Al Capone in 1920-something, he was making $720,000 a week. It's like 720 million now, same thing. They were smuggling whiskey and everything from Mexico, coming across the southern border, and from Canada. You talk about boats lit up, boy, them boats was swooping across the Great Lakes to Chicago and the other places. They was rolling, bringing in shipments of alcohol at 10 times the price. Prohibition caused that. Gangsters killing each other in the street over the money, slaughtering. At one time, it was, I don't know whether it was a year or certain months, but I know our Italians alone, they killed 600 of each other in little or no time. 600. It was lawlessness. Roosevelt said, forget that. First thing I'm doing, I'm repealing prohibition. Number one, everybody drinks. The police drink, right? The police is catching you, and they all drink. There's a book called The Alcoholic Republic. In the old days, when you would go into court, the judge would take a drink, the defendant would take a drink, they would pass the bottle around. It was a custom. Remember when you was younger, they smoked on airplanes? They smoked everywhere. And drank. Just in your generation, they designated drivers, right? The death rate on the highway then cut way down. The cars, seat belts, and all of that. Now in the last 20 years, 30 years, you have to wear a seat belt. Before you didn't have them. Before the cars, you remember the metal cars? If you bumped your head up in any car, you'd lucky to make it. And the laws, the car stopped and the baby go flying through the glass. That's why, remember, when anybody would stop real quick, they'd throw out their hand. Automatically, they didn't ask no question. They just throw out their hand to stop the kid from going ahead. It was natural. What I'm saying is, People worry about legalization of drugs. We're for that, for them, not for Islam, but we're for that because they won't have no hand to beat us with. It'll take all the juice out of their patrolling black community. Why? Because with drugs being legal, guess what? The black community will take a flip and a turn. It will surprise the people. How nice black people will become. They'll be speaking to each other. How you doing this morning? Like people down south, everything. They retooled Ralph Nader and got to fixing on cars, right? What I'm saying is, the legalization of drugs will take care of their gun problem, their murder rate problem. You know, their statistics say 80% of crime is drug related. That means you can get rid of 80% of the police, 80% of the judges, 80%. It's an industry. They don't want to see it go. Plus, it gives them more police power. Police states always want more police powers and less power for you. Okay, let me just breeze over a few things, then I'll get to the legalization would guarantee tax revenues roughly at 46.7 billion annually. Now remember, this is 10 years old, so you can almost double everything that's in here. Okay. We assume that 50% of possession for arrests are due solely to drug possession rather than being incidental to some other crime. Some drug offenders pay fines which partially offset the expenditure required, like all the big dope dealers that's got cars, houses, planes, and boats. You can go down to the auction and buy them boys because they tax everything. You know, now that last 30 years, 40 years, they attach everything. Drug legalization would generate tax revenue from the legal production and sale of drugs. Now, I just want you to think now. We have a deficit so big in prison building. Now, prison building, we don't get nothing from that. We pay the taxes, but companies get the benefit from the jailhouse people working and all of that. The cable factory up in McNeil Island. Some of the specialized work is done in prison industry, especially the federal prison industry. They make cables for these spaceships, whatever they put out there. That's what they do that in the penitentiary. You got specialized work right there. You don't have to. Why, it's better than the chain gang. Look at the 13th Amendment. Look how dirty these people are. Oh, you just free as you can be, except if you convicted of a felony, and then you got the police on every corner arresting niggas and sending them to the chain gang. And the local farmer, the big farmer, the big white farmer, he rents the Negroes for 50 cents a day, 25 go to the sheriff, and the other go back to the county. That's what they do. That's what they have done. No, that's what they are doing.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, hey man, it makes you want to holler. That's what the guy said. It's unbelievable. We assume that legalized drugs would be taxed at the rate comparable to alcohol and tobacco. If it was just taxed at the rate of alcohol and tobacco, if we didn't have all these special squads. Now look at all the special squads. They're related to drugs, they're related to terrorism, and they're related to guns. It's a symbiotic relationship. It is a cycle of oppression. All of it points at us. All of it points at the people. And every time somebody is killed, I forgot to bring those, but that's okay. We can remember some of the things that's happening technically is backfiring. For instance, the killing of all of those 50 people in New Zealand brought the people out. They would have never came out. They came out by the thousands. It was more white people than the Muslims. This is not us. I mean, up until today. We're so sorry that man don't do anything for us. That means that he's not from them. He come from Australia somewhere and probably came from the U.S., got pumped up in the U.S., went back to Australia, and then went to New Zealand on a mission. Just like Timothy McVeigh and all them other people. They're going to blow up the Merrill building and then drive down the street with a license plate that don't belong on the car. Bull crap. You can plan all that big stuff. Remember Timothy McVeigh back in the... And he drove down the street with a license plate don't belong on the car. No. But he wasn't planning good. You are stupid if you believe that crap. So he's the lone killer. If I see one more lone killer, and they wanted to light the feds up too. Because they hit the feds, it was April 19th. That's the same day they moved on the people down in Waco. Ruby Ridge. Now the feds gonna they shot the dog and they shot the baby out of the white woman's, good God Almighty. The feds was losing. And then they burned all them people up. You could see that tank-looking thing going up to the building and fumes coming out of it. Then it pulled back, and the old white lady, the old ugly white lady, Janet Reno said, there was no pyrotechnic device. It was a pyrotechnic device. You could see the fumes coming out of the thing, and it poof. When it goes like that, that means that fire is set. It didn't develop over no time, and they burn up everybody. It's like burning up the people in L.A. When them people get mad, and you put them out of sorts, they'll burn your behind up. White or black. Children, everything. So the Merrill building in Oklahoma, I think it was a mixture. They planned it, but it was planned to look like Get Back by the other white folks. Total impact of drug legalization on government budgets would be approximately $88 billion. Just double that up now. That means if drugs were legal, it'd be like not having a defense budget. It'd be like if you didn't have an army, you wouldn't have a need to go to war. You couldn't go to war because you don't have an army, right? So who's this budgetary impact on ending drug prohibition? Why are they not talking about it more? There's lawyers for it, there's judges for it. I know one judge over in Baltimore, he said, man, you gotta legalize this stuff, it ain't none of that. It's tons of people for total legalization. Whatever it is, it couldn't be worse than what we got now. As long as we got these drug laws, we can't make any real progress. It's like shouting in the dark. can't make any real progress. Nobody can. Now there's the jump the fence to white folks. They're not gonna, two people up at the top, or about 5 or 6 folks up there, they're gonna get over like a fat cat. But all the rest of the people, could you push the heat up just a little bit? Yeah. Just a pinch. Okay, so let me get now back to, we done covered drugs and their effects. We done covered the budgetary. And now, let's get to guns and the global conspiracy. But so far, I'd like to ask the people, do y'all understand what we're talking about here? Drugs is used as a means of control of the black community, the Latin community, and now the white community. You cannot make no societal progress as long as drugs are illegal and everybody's using them. You just can't do it. It won't work. There's no system that would allow on everything. Years ago, people was wondering, what happened to GM? Well, everybody in Detroit was using dope. So the cars was falling apart. Right? It was falling apart. I'm telling you. And the foreigners come in with them little Toyotas and Hondas. They were meant to last a long time. U.S. products had an ending date on them. They was built for 2 years only. In 1970, the 69 Cadillac I had, Brougham I had 50,000 miles and 5-year warranty. The 1970 Cadillac had 1 year and 12,000 miles. Planned obsolescence. And under all that, they big giant gas guzzlers. Hey man, they had 4-barrel carburetors. I don't know if you ever seen one. 4-barrel carburetors, and they had 472 cubic inches. The Eldorado had 500 cubic inches. Them engines were as big as this masjid. And they get you on the highway, they get you 11 miles a gallon. And on the street, they might get you 4 or 5 miles a gallon. But gas was only 30 cents a gallon. One of the reasons was them Negroes up there in Detroit. Now, you know, Detroit became a black city. There's blacks and Arabs making all them cars, mostly after a while. All the unions. And guess what? They was making a bunch of garbage. America history was catching up with it. The Japanese, on the other, I remember in '68, a girlfriend, she brought a Toyota. I said, and I was thinking of it as a toy. I said, a Toyota, ha 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 ha. Good on gas and lasts a lifetime. Same thing with the Hondas. Only thing that was wrong with the Hondas was the paint would chip at the top. But other than that, it was a Honda. We didn't know that the motorcycle industry, everything, Hondas and Suzukis, and by 1980, America, the big time, was gone. They made their last big long Brougham, 85. That boy as long as from here over there. I said, that's it. Finally, after all of them years, they start getting fuel efficient. If they didn't, they was gonna lose their whole market. GM used to say, so goes America, so goes GM. GM and America was harmonious. What's good for America it's good for GM. And what's good for GM, that's what they used to say, it's good for America. Didn't mean to divert from that diversion, but that's... Now, guns and the global conspiracy. This goes back to what we talked about before. Guns and drugs are means of control, and they want to use each one of those things, guns, to control the population in general, because if they can take the guns out of people's hands, then they can do what they want. And they're not after black people's guns, they're after white people's guns. They're after Uncle Bud's gun. And black people don't have gun racks in their house, but white folks do. You got the whole side of the wall, it's a gun rack. This is my 45, that's my Smith & Wesson, this is my, they go all down the line. When they talking to each other, oh, that's a 445, shoot them back. The bullets go around in circles, then they hit. Yeah, that's what they do. And this one here, that's what they talk. They don't talk much else. They talk about their guns and stuff. And they have a relationship with their guns. It gives them security, a feeling of security. Okay, where do we come? We have to, we're always biting off more than we can chew, or a lot to chew. But all of this stuff seems to be falling on us. But there are groups, you hear them on the radio, you see them on TV, that there are people now beginning to pick up on all of these things. So, guns and the global conspiracy. I'll just be brief. The terrorist attacks, the bombing attacks, the drug trade, all of this is associated with guns. All these conspiracies relate to control, though. Control, in the past, you and I, the black community, but now control of the white community. Why? Because they don't have nothing to do for what, they're getting ready to get robots. They don't need them white folks no more. They don't need him anymore. He was a hero. That's why we got to get to him fast, because maybe when the shooting start, he'll shoot in the right direction at his real enemy, the one that sent his job to China, right? The one that closed down his factory, the one that's interfering with his life. That's not us. That's the system. Therefore, we have to help point them, if everybody can see what I'm saying, we have to help point them in the right direction so they'll know what they're shooting at, why they're shooting at it, and who can help. And we've said many times, we want to be invited to speak at white folks' churches and all these other groups and organizations. You'll find out all this stuff about drugs and being a target sooner or later, but it'll be like us. You'll almost all be dead. So we're trying to get to you now while there's a body that's still alive and functional. You wait another 9, 10 years, hey man, you got to look at the numbers. 70,000 people, of course, they lie. 70,000 people died on opiates last year, or year before last, with Narcan, with all these fluffy-duffy stuff. Right? It's a lot, 70,000.
In addition to them killing themselves.
22 soldiers committing suicide per day. How many just give up and wallow in drug? All of those things of depression and all those things that they took us through, they took the Indians through that. Why you think alcohol is the biggest thing? It's always been because they firewatered it. They knew this will control the Indians. It ain't nothing new. The Opium War in China, man. Okay. So we have here care. If care don't care, forget about care. We feel it. We write in the book, then we have to put in there what we want to write in our own book. That's just all it is. The same thing that we talked about a couple of months ago and back. We're writing this book. This is what we wanted to say. We want to show America as rescued. America, you know, this stuff about America that are good, other people may not care nothing about it. Personally, here at this station, we care about America the good. That's something ain't nobody seen before. America want to be number one again? That's how it could be number one. It can't be number one in this other stuff. It's caught up with it. But America could be number one in good. Okay, we're going to make a new global system, and we're going to do this, that, and other. The only thing they'd have to do is control the rich white folks back there. That they would spend all their time, money, and gold to make war and to make everything that we try to do fail. And this up and coming period, the thing that will cause the most trouble is those people with money. The people with money are so blind, it's like when it says that those involved in Reba, it runs them crazy. Well, imagine human beings building robots and other stuff that will replace human beings. Suppose we got unemployment everywhere, but they don't make robots to replace human beings. Why? Because it's more money. No health care for the machine. No, that's because money is controlling everything. We have to take money and consumerism out of this. As long as it's there, it'll be a dilemma. That's going to be our next fight. Our big fight will be with the moneyed people and readjusting to consumerism and getting back to humanism where it was before, like not going backwards but going forward to, you know, the thing that people really strive for is to be loved, to be accepted, to be a part of a movement, or organization, a family, right? That's what people really like. When they don't have that, they try to fill that up with everything else, and it hasn't worked yet. Ain't nobody, Bill Gates or nobody, filled up that void that a simple human relationship, getting back with their cousin or somebody, right?
Actually, they're profiting off of not having that.
Yeah.
Everything that they've created is to create individualism.
That stuff is just, it's a dead letter now.
Right.
Individualism, we're not communism, but we need communism. We need to, what we're going to try to do is bring the best out of the human being, not the worst. That's what we want to do. Okay. About this is stuff we don't enjoy much. Don't let people like steal your joy, that means the masjid, you know, and what have you. But we'll deal with kind of a recreation, black economic zone or Islamic economic zone. It is not new. We've been all the stuff about community. We remember everything about masjid, community, living close together. We've been at that stuff from day one. But they would call that an economic zone. We felt that there's something funny going on with our videos and what have you. So we're still going to seek permission from others to load up some of our stuff on there, just to make sure, just to double check. Something that people didn't expect, the strategic Negro. They just didn't expect the strategic Negro. But that's what we have to be. For some of the stuff we've been talking about will be brief congressional investigations, OPD, FBI, NSA, on and on. We don't have to go through what we've already done, but we have, we will mention one more time, creeping erosion of civil and human rights. Drug laws, gun laws, all of that. The dictatorship of the prosecution. It never was meant for a prosecutor, state or federal, to have as much power as they have now. That it just went crazy. The laws, they're chipping away at our individual freedoms. They have chipped away at our individual freedoms. They didn't just chipped away at them boys. Okay. So, we're going to try to be the canary in the coal mine. Does anybody know what that means? Canary in the coal mine. Yeah, he started hollering and falling out because he got a low tolerance for gas, and stuff like that. So that's what we're working to be. Actually, we are that. Did everybody get one of these by?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. The last thing I'd like to show again right here, As-Sabiqun policy statement and goals for 2005, raise funds, MacArthur Boulevard, down here, number 3. Pay off taxes the first week of February. In fact, we paid for them January 27th. $48,000. That's just so you know that anybody run their mouth and open their mouth, let them show something that they have written. Everything we have shown has been written and clarified. So, dear friends, we thank you for riding with us tonight. And As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, I guess there was no questions or comments.